And we're live. Hey,
Okay.
y'all. Good evening. Buenas noches.
Yeah.
So glad you are joining us live tonight. Um, I got a cough. Excuse me. Pardon. Pardon. Okay. So, um, tonight we are going to be talking about what the process is to buy land, answer your questions about buying land in Mexico. My guest tonight is my dear friend, Teresa. Uh, if you've watched this channel before, she should look really familiar because you've seen her in a video or two. And she was so gracious to come on here yet again and share. Sheeta says we look like haircut twins. So we both got our part going. Oh, my part's over here. I forgot about that. Okay, so who am I? Especially if you're new here and you're tuning in and you're like, what is this? I'm Adelia Borachade. Although most people know me as Picky Girl Travels the World, I have been living abroad since 2016. I call home Mexico City. And it is my mission in life to help Black women live the life of their dreams. So maybe your dream is how can I own land and live in Mexico? Um, so yeah, that's what we do here on this channel. We talk about living abroad. We talk about traveling, and we also talk about how to make that work for you financially. So if that is something that sounds good to you, stick around. Subscribe, turn on notifications, do the whole thing. Do you hear a squeaking noise? Is that over there or is that me?
No.
Okay, I don't know what that noise is. Hey, y'all, everybody that's here in the chat. So glad that y'all could make it. Um, do you want me to introduce you a little bit, or do you want to talk about who you are and how you came to be in Mexico?
Oh my. You can go ahead and introduce me.
Okay,
Let me
let's see if I can get this right.
Okay.
Uh, okay, there is the small possibility my computer may be about to explode. I
Oh
think
no.
that's where those noises are coming from. So, y'all, if we just disappear, know that's what happened and we'll come back. So, I don't know what's going on. Okay, so Teresa, I'm sure y'all will pick up with the accent, is originally from Jamaica. She moved to Mexico in 2014.
13.
2013. She has lived in a couple of different places, but she too lives here in Mexico City. She is a very successful chef and entrepreneur and has been buying property in Mexico for a little bit. Did I miss anything super important
No, that's it.
that you want the people to know?
Short and spicy, easy does it.
Okay, all right, y'all.
Yeah.
Um, I just got to post this up here. I love this. Hey, D. She says she's not looking for land, but anything I do, she's here for it. I love that. Okay, so um, I have some questions that I'm trying to remember where I put them about the process because I didn't want to forget them. All right. So these questions are not going to be in any particular order. And if you've got those of you who are watching live, if you've got a burning question about owning land or buying land in Mexico, be sure to drop that in the chat. Um, One of the common questions I get is, can a foreigner buy land in Mexico?
Yes. Foreigners can buy land in Mexico.
And do you need residency?
No, you don't need residency. However, you will purchase the land through a process called fideicomiso. It's like a land trust with a bank.
Okay, all right. Um, so why did you choose to buy property, to buy land in Mexico?
So for me, purchasing land here, after seeing that I'm going to be living here and I enjoy here, was, to create wealth. It's one of those building of wealth for me and my family.
Okay. Okay. And now we were just talking about this, the fact that there's like very little available land here in Mexico City.
Mhm.
So, did you want to buy like in a city or did you want to buy in the countryside?
So initially, I wanted to purchase in the city, but it was out of my budget. And so I decided to look at areas that I like and also the weather and what are the things in the area that will attract people if I want people to come out and visit me.
Okay.
So I looked near the beach area at one point, and I looked inland, which is an hour away from where I am. I looked at different areas outside of the city.
Okay. And I know I've seen one of your pieces of property. It is um, I would definitely describe it as rural. How did you yeah, we're going to describe it as rural. How did you find that?
Okay, so with this one in particular, I was trying to get, first, I must tell you, I was trying to get my mates to come with me, and no one was like, nah, I'm not going. So what I did was to take the bus from Mexico City, and wherever I would see people going with their loads, I would go on that bus and check out the area and walk past and check out the areas. And this one in particular, I saw it many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
but the price was too good to be true because everything in terms of land in Mexico is usually like 1,000,000 pesos. And I was like, let me check this out. And so I put it up on the map, asked a friend to do some checks on it, and it turns out to be legit. And then I went to check it out, and I liked it.
Okay. And that property, did you buy like from a private owner or did you buy it from a developer?
So I purchased from a private owner. This one in particular, I purchased from a private owner, and I was hesitant at first because of what I've heard in the past. But I had two people using their eyes to double check and ensuring that everything was fine. A friend of mine from school and my husband came out and checked, and he didn't like the place, but it was legit. So I went ahead.
Okay. Okay. Um, the art of today wanted to know, do you speak Spanish?
I think I speak enough to survive and read a contract. And if something doesn't feel right, always get a second opinion.
But there are lots of folks who buy property here in Mexico who do not speak Spanish. And that is when I think it's really important that you have somebody um, who works for you
Mhm.
uh, to kind of be there to interpret and do that sort of stuff for you.
100%. I do recommend if you're interested in purchasing land or properties, I encourage you to have someone that speaks both English and Spanish, not just basic, but fluently to represent you well.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, AD Lewis asked about this. A family member told me that you can't privately own land in Mexico. Doesn't seem like this is true, but have you ever heard of anything like this?
What do you mean by can't privately own land? If
I,
you
I think like own land in your name. And the way I understand it is that you cannot own land in directly if it is 100 kilometers within 100 kilometers of a national border or
Mhm,
50 kilometers of the beach. So if this person has dreams of beachfront property, no,
mhm.
you can't own that directly. You have to do a fide.
That
Ugh,
word.
I can't ever say that stupid word, but I'll put it up here for you. You need
Fideicomiso.
fide-
Fideicomiso.
mismo.
Okay.
You have to have one of those if the land is close to a border or it's
Yes.
close to the coastline.
Yes.
Foreigners cannot directly own land that way. But if you have residency and you want to buy property and it is not within those zones, yes, you can own it directly in
Okay.
your name.
So let me explain this bit. For the fideicomiso, you can have the land and it will be in your name, but it will be through the bank trust. So when you pay for them to have it for 50 years, the trust, once it's renewed, it will still be in your name. You can have anybody else's name on it. It's just that it's in a trust. So when you get your escritura, which is your title, it will have your name. And whoever you name as your heir, if anything happens to you, they will have it. So the title will be in your name, but it will be in the trust with the bank.
Okay, so that kind of goes with Michelle Harris's question. You are not leasing the land. You own it, but I feel like it's a security thing.
Yes.
Like land near borders, land near coasts, you want to be able to exercise some control over it. So you would own that land, but it is held within a bank trust, I guess, maybe so you don't do something stupid like sell it to North Korea or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. All right. Rashida wants to know, why did you choose land with coyotes?
They're nicer than humans.
Okay. Okay. There you go. There you go.
Coyotes there, Rashida.
Fideicomisos, they are good for what, 50 years?
Yes, they're good for 50 years.
And then you have to re-up them, correct?
Renew it every 50 years, yes.
Okay.
So even if you have it in 50 years and you transfer it if I transfer it to your name, you don't need to renew it until it's the 50 years is up.
Okay. Okay. And so this rural property you bought, you felt comfortable doing the deal. You said that, you felt like it was legit. What gave you that feeling?
Because whenever I asked questions, they weren't hesitant. They weren't, they were willing to help. They were willing to help and they were willing to have me speak to the owner. The lady I spoke to, she was willing to have me speak to the owner to make things clear. But even though I was chatting with him, it was still a bit of a struggle because he was trying to talk to me in English. I was like, okay, let's do this in Spanish. It makes sense. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So are you comfortable sharing what that property cost or how much property you got?
Not at this moment.
Okay. All right. We will move past that. I would assume, like everything else in Mexico, you can get property at all price points.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I would say, depending on what areas you look in, if you look in Puebla, Estado de Mexico, you can get property 300 meters square, the minimum 50,000 pesos. I don't know how much that is in dollars.
Okay, hold on. You said 300 meters squared? I'm going to go to Google really quick.
And if you look in Cuernavaca, these are areas that I've looked in. If you go in Cuernavaca, that 300 meters square will give you $1 million in peso.
Okay, so 300 square meters is 3,230 square feet. I have no idea. Is that, let's see how many acres that is. That's 0.07 of an acre. And you said like 300 square meters might run you what, 50,000 pesos?
Yes, minimum.
And 50,000 pesos is 2,500 USD. So that
whereby in Oaxaca, Zhuanatengo, that same amount will be 790,000 pesos. Cuernavaca, 1 million pesos and more.
Okay.
Querétaro and Guanajuato, you're looking at 1 million pesos and more as well.
So yeah. Auntie Lou coming through in the comments with the conversions.
Oh,
Y'all, I don't do math in my head, so y'all keep at it, like, because I can't handle all the numbers. Now, did
mhm.
you have to pay cash?
I paid cash. I
Could
paid.
you have financed the land?
The process for financing, if I don't understand it and if it cannot be explained to me where it makes sense to me, I'm not interested. However, I do know that interest rates is a lot and I don't want to get involved in that. So I prefer to pay in cash.
In general, in Mexico, for folks who are new here or who may not know this, in general in Mexico,
Mhm,
this cash is preferred.
mhm.
And if you are going to finance something, you should expect double digit interest rates. You should expect large down payments and very short terms.
Yes.
So it is very different than the way we would finance things, let's say in the US. So
On the
you go
on on
ahead.
on the note of finance, I must say though, for the period that I've been here and looking at how properties and land is being financed, they have changed a bit to accommodate people. For example, in the past, if you want to purchase land, you have to make a down payment and you pay during the time until the closing. Now, some parts of Mexico have made it where you can just pay monthly. And when it's closer to the end, you make the final deposit, whatever percentage that is. So they
Okay.
have changed a bit during the pandemic.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, okay. Looking at my questions here. Um, so that's that's your rural property.
Mhm.
I think you recently made another property purchase
Yes.
in a very popular part of, I think if you hear that noise, that's my computer going
Oh,
through whatever is going through. Uh, in another part of Mexico, you want to talk about that?
yes. So this purchase was along the coastline. And always, if I see something, I want people to get on board. People who I think are interested, but not everybody have faith in me until it's late. So with the purchase I made, it's near the coastline and it's pretty, my pocket is feeling the pain right now. But the process was easy. So initially, I wanted to purchase with someone, and they keep stalling me. And so I reached out to the guy I was chatting with. How I found this first was that I was at night looking for a beach property. I was looking in the Caribbean, and then I was like, "Ooh, Caribbean is getting expensive every year." So I zoomed over back to Mexico and zoom in. So what you can do if you're interested in purchasing land, look for an area that you're interested in or have visited, and the ones that have a blue line that says lotes, you zoom in on it and it will take you to the website.
Okay, zoom in. Where are you looking that you're doing the zooming?
Yeah, so you look at the area, let's say Mexico City, you want to purchase a
Like
property
on Google Maps?
on Google Maps.
Okay.
Yes. So on Google Maps, let's say I'm looking at Valle del Bravo right now, and my thing for purchasing land is that there must be a river, waterfall, or beach nearby. There must be a source of water nearby. And so on Google Maps, you zoom in on the area of interest, Valle del Bravo, and then if you see lotes, you click on it, it brings you to a website, a reputable website of the
Hmm.
person who is selling the land or the apartments, and
Okay.
make a connection there. And yeah, so that's how I found this one.
Okay.
Land in
So,
Mexico goes fast.
okay. So, how do you move fast to make the purchase so it doesn't get bought from under you, but also at the same time do your due diligence to make sure that, like, you're not what is it called?
Mhm.
You're not like you're not falling for a scam. You're not buying what is the communally held land?
Ejido.
Starts ejido. I knew it started with an E. To make sure that you're not buying ejido land, which you can't. you can't really own that because it's
Mhm.
communally held by indigenous people.
For
And
for someone who doesn't know, these are questions to ask. Who is the owner, why you're selling it, and what is it used for. If you're speaking with someone reputable, they will tell you who is the owner and why they're selling it and what are the restrictions. If you're purchasing, like what almost happened the first time, there was an ad, and when I called, they were like, "Oh, I'll take you to the person who owns it." Speaking to the person who say they own it, and then it's like a chain. If it's stressing you out too much, it's not those are the things I use here, and I always ask questions and have someone do a double check just to be sure.
to kind of make sure that the person that you're talking to, like, you ask some questions in the community, or you ask questions of somebody who's in that same field, and they should be like, oh yeah, I know Jose,
Yes.
he did X, Y, and Z deal, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry, y'all, that my computer is in the throes of whatever it's in and making these weird noises. Okay. So the first property that you bought, that you found that in an ad, right? Am I wrong
Yes.
here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
this was like an ad in the newspaper or ad
No,
online?
I don't remember the name of the building. The green and white. This is all throughout Mexico. They're the number one before 21st century.
Oh,
I don't remember.
Technocasa.
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 Yes.
Okay, so like on the Technocasa website. Okay.
Yes.
Let me see if I can grab y'all a link.
Yes. I always say if you're purchasing and you want to experience Mexico, use that, because if you compare the same housing costs as well as the room and the same area with 21st century, the other international realtors, it's more.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to pay them a commission and a fee, which I don't mind, but I want to experience Mexico and purchase in Mexico like the Mexicans do.
Okay, so this makes so Technocasa is, if you're from the US and you're watching this, it's kind of like a Remax, a Century 21. It is a well-known real estate brokerage,
Uh-huh.
we'll call it that.
Mhm.
So I agree. Like if I saw a property listed with Technocasa, I would feel a little better than maybe I just saw a sign on the road. What do you think about the other websites, like something like Segunda Mano or Craigslist or Muebles 24? If somebody was listing property on there, would you give that the side eye, or would you
I would not give it the side eye. I would consider it if they allow me to use a notary that they
okay.
don't know and I don't know. Because a notary is like a neutral person, is a lawyer and attorney that does background check and research on the property, and also, let me know what is going on. So I wouldn't pass it. I will give it a second thought.
Can you even buy property in Mexico without a notary?
There is
I mean, like that is not recommended.
it is not.
Not
It is
recommended,
not.
but I guess in my head I thought you had to have a notary. But like you said, make sure that you have your own notary that works for you, as
Mhm.
opposed to using theirs.
Yes, or you can just get one. If for you, if I'm not using a realtor or anybody and I'm purchasing directly from you, I can just go to the office. I don't remember the name of the office. It's a government office that looks at land. It's kind of like the place where you pay the taxes, and ask for a notary there, and they will assist both of us
Okay.
fairly. Mm-hmm.
Okay. There are several questions here about like property records, assessment records. Do you know anything about that? Like, is there a place where if I'm wanting to buy this property that I can go to a government office and see who owns it, Have they paid the taxes?
Yes. Yes.
There. Do you
Yes.
know what that's called?
I'll have to go and look at the paper.
Okay. Okay. So something like that does exist.
And every state has one.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And that you can see that who says they own it is
Yes.
who really owns it.
Yes.
Because I know I've heard a few horror stories about people buying property where the title was not clear and that being some issues. Is that something that the notary would do, or is
Yes.
there a person you hire for that?
Yes. So if you use a realtor or a company, they will have someone in office that will do the check. And when you go to, so you do a sale agreement. And when you do that sale agreement, if you go back, they will say, hey, these are the things that were paid for, and they will give you a copy of everything that is paid for. So if you do use a realtor to purchase land or property, the notary in office will make sure everything on that land or account is cleared.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm trying to think of what my next question was. I'm so worried that this computer is just going to be like, okay, I'm done, and y'all can't use me anymore. We covered that. Okay, so you own property in different states
Mhm.
in Mexico. Was the process very similar? Was it the same?
No, the process wasn't similar. I think inside of Mexico, not the process inland is different versus along the coast.
Okay.
And it varies from person to person, also who you're purchasing from. Inland, both inland and along the coast, you do a sale agreement. And during that period, they will do checks. And with doing those checks, they will let you know what's going on and when you should come in and do your final signing. At the end of each sale, though, however long it takes in between those periods, some areas the escritura or the title costs more. For example, if it's a rural area where there is no one there, the cost for the escritura is more than versus the coastline. Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so like let's say I find this piece of property that I want and I
Mhm.
put in the sales agreement.
Mhm.
How long should I expect it to take from the sales agreement to when I actually own it and my name is on the title or the deed or whatever? How long does something like that cost?
This one would varies, and I would say it takes 6 months. If you are purchasing it fresh, no one owns it, the process can take 6 weeks, especially if you're paying cash. If you're paying using a bank or monthly, they will say how long it will take. For example, a friend of mine, I told her about purchasing this land. She didn't have cash on hand, and she was told she had 3 years to pay for it.
Okay, hold on.
So she will pay monthly. She will pay monthly.
So she's financing that with a developer or with the owner? How did that work?
With the
With
owner.
with the
With the
owner.
owner.
So the owner decided
Yes.
that, hey, okay, you don't have all of
Mhm.
this cash. I'm
Mhm.
not in a hurry. So
Yes.
what happens if your friend, let's say after a year, um, is like,
Not
oh,
interested,
yeah,
non-refundable, because that's in the sale agreement as well.
okay,
Yes,
okay,
yes, 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 yes,
okay,
yes.
all
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yes.
I had another question I was going to ask, but it went away. So I'm going to come back and see what questions we have in the chat. Okay, what about this question? I read online that you need an attorney to serve as your power of attorney and a realtor. Is that necessary?
Okay, so if you have an attorney that serves as your power of attorney, this is possible when you're not in the country. That's only when they ask for a power of attorney. And if you are not, I do encourage you to have your lawyer as your power of attorney separate from your realtor. It's like you don't want to get too comfortable with the realtor and then things are not done. Versus if you use a lawyer, they check and say, hey, this is needed, this is needed, this is needed. So if you're going that route, I do recommend that you have your power of attorney separate from your realtor and both of them work together for you.
Okay. So help me understand this. I know what a realtor does.
Mm-hmm.
Would there be a situation where I would have a notary and a lawyer?
The
Or
notary,
do they do the same thing?
they do the same thing. They do the
Okay.
same thing. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And for those of you from the US, notaries here in Mexico are much, I almost want to say they're more like lawyers.
Yes.
The power that they have overseeing like contracts and that sort of thing. So it's a little different than the notaries we have in the US.
Yes.
Okay, we answered the question about ownership being confirmed in city, state records. There's some place where you can go to verify that. So I'm going to guess that if you have a particular property in mind,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say when your notary or your lawyer goes to check that, things look complicated or they're unresolved. Like what if the landowner died? I assume that there's a process that needs to retitle that land in the name of their heirs, and that has to be sorted before you can buy it.
Definitely. That can be sorted. I did ask about that, and that can take forever. Don't ask me how long. It's a long process. If it doesn't sound right, I'm not going there. You can look for something else somewhere else with less hassle.
Okay. Several people have asked about your plans for the property, the land that
Okay.
you have purchased.
Okay. So the one that has a lot of coyotes, as Rashida calls it, it's because I'm a chef, I want to bring my Caribbean vibes there, where you have from farm to table, or you want to just come and chillax with the coyotes, with trees and taking a hike. It's a place. So that's a plan I have for that, to have my garden farm there where I can cook and serve you
Okay.
beautiful people who come and visit me.
Okay. So kind of business related,
Yeah.
that piece of property. Okay, so what about the one that is the second property, the one that you just bought? Is that one on the coastline or is it just near? Like, how far are you from the beach on that property?
So there's a highway that passes. It's 15 minutes by car from the beach. Ideally, I wanted to be on the beachfront, but I was stalled, so that one went. And luckily, the guy who I was chatting with, he said, "Hey, there's a property close by. How do you feel about this?" And I took that one instead.
Okay, and what do you think you're going to do with that?
For that one, oh, are you coming to sleep with me under the stars, Adalia?
Y'all, she's asking this, and y'all know me, and she knows. Sleep under the stars, near the beach. Like none of that. None of that sounds like me.
And then in the morning, we take a walk, which will be an hour walk to the beach and watch the sun rise.
Oh, good grief. So does that mean you don't know yet? Or
No,
maybe
I don't
it'll be like a retreat, like someplace
Yeah,
you go to get away, get out of the city. You
yeah.
haven't quite figured that out yet.
Not
Okay.
yet, not yet. Initially, when I wanted to purchase back in 2018, I was hoping that, I don't know if I shared with you, I'd asked two other friends, like, hey, let us purchase, whatever amount you put, you will have that share, so we could have each of our skills, like have a community there, and they weren't interested. So I just purchased this in with the coyotes by myself.
If your plans change,
Mhm.
how hard is it for you to resell?
For Merida, It is easy because a lot of people like
Are
quote
very
stuff.
interested in that.
Uh-huh. For Las Vegas, at the moment, there's nothing there. So I don't know what it would be like in the future. But I know for me, I wanna, and I think I mentioned this briefly in your last video or someone's else, that I want to create like a community of food people where we can have people come out and enjoy Black food in Mexico City. So for the moment, this is what the plan is for Las Vegas.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And Las Vegas in Mexico, y'all, not Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh,
Okay. Just so you know, just so you know. Rakia wants to know, is there a tip fee requested in the application at each stage, at any stage of the purchase process?
that is a very good question. So they will give you the total costs of the land. That is separate from the notary's fee and
If you need a fideicomiso, that's a separate fee too,
and
isn't
that's a
it?
separate fee, yes. So those are the fee. And if there are any fees, they will let you know, or they will just include it in the final cost if you're not paying cash. And if they include it and you think it's a lot, I'm telling you, it's in my opinion, and not a lot is relative.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I hope that answers her question.
I do.
Uh, Roxanne had a question. Do you get a title showing that you own the property once you make the purchase?
Yes, you do get a title. It takes 5 weeks to get it.
This is after it could have taken 6 months for you to finalize the purchase. Okay.
Yes, that's a very good question. Yes, it takes 5 weeks. And for if you purchase in a rural area, because there's no one in the office, it can take a week, 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's say I find this property that I want to buy.
Mm-hmm.
We enter the initial sale period. My
Mm-hmm.
notary does some digging,
Mm-hmm.
and the ownership situation, sorting that out looks
Mm-hmm.
a little complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm expecting 6 months. It's
Mm-hmm.
going on a year.
Mm-hmm.
If I back out, am I just out like my down payment if I had one, or whatever it was to get the initial sale
Yes.
agreement done?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because you already signed the sale agreement, and on each page they have non-refundable, 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 non-refundable. Uh-huh.
Okay. We
Yes.
have a question about property taxes. How do they calculate that? Like, is that based on the value of the property? Or is it just like, hey, 10%, or like, oh, I don't know. I really don't know. So I'm asking you.
Oh dear, I just paid the taxes.
You just paid them.
Yes.
Um, are you comfortable saying what you paid?
So, yes, I'm comfortable saying how much the property tax is. Okay, so the property taxes also vary from location to location. And yes, the property taxes increase, I think, by 10% each year. And yes, they do have a person who come and value
Mm-hmm.
the property.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
So the property tax for one is 700 pesos, and the other
Okay,
one
but wait, let's stop right there. 700 pesos
per year.
is per year.
But okay, each year that's it, but it will increase.
Increase because the value of the property is increasing?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. So for
Okay.
one, it's 700 pesos, the other 200 pesos, the
Is
other
this
one,
each lot?
no, I'm
Okay,
just
so each location?
each location. So 700 pesos, 200 pesos, 100 pesos, 650 pesos.
Okay. 200 pesos is $10.
Uh-huh.
So 700 pesos is like $35. And one of the things I find interesting about taxes, property taxes here, unlike in the US. In the US, if you don't pay your property taxes, there comes a point where the government will take your land and
Oh,
sell it to somebody. That is not the case here in Mexico, right?
no, they just increase it and say, hey, you need to pay.
You need to pay this. So before it's sold,
Uh-huh.
somebody needs to pay it.
Yes. And
Whether
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
and each year you get discount. You
Huh.
get discount. So they give you a period to pay. So for example, this year the property tax was 700, but because I didn't pay on time, it goes up.
Okay. So
So
they
it
give you a little discount if you pay on time.
yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Hold on. I lost my place here. Blah blah blah. Um, so we were talking about taxes, and then there was something else that I wanted to talk about. Um, I'm looking in y'all's question. Okay. Rakia wants to know, are taxes based on who purchased the property?
No. No.
Okay. Okay. All right. Um, and so they are due annually. Is it possible for you to, like, when they assess a value of the property and say, this is what we're going to charge you in taxes, can you argue that? Can you fight that? I'm just curious, and I'm just asking in case somebody is wondering.
No, and I don't think it makes any sense to fight it, but yeah.
Because in the US, that is a thing.
Oh no.
Because think about it. The city or the government, the state is saying, this is what we think your land is worth. And maybe they don't know that there is a crack house next door and that you can't sell it for that. So then you can fight it and say, no, there's a crack house next door, and I think it will decrease my value by this amount. And then you can go and have like a hearing about that. So that's not a thing here in Mexico.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay. I think we have answered that question. Several people want to know, are those aki fruit earrings?
Yes, they are.
I didn't know that. I think I thought they were like Jamaica or something.
No, they're accurate. Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, so let's have that. Okay. L. Davis said, can you discuss ways to buy like a local?
Okay, so for my experience buying like a local, I took the bus, check out areas that I like. If I see a number, I mean, if you speak Spanish, you call. If not, you have someone call and do some checks and ask some questions. The other way is to use Tecnocasa, or you can use Facebook or Instagram. This is the modern way people are using now.
Okay. Okay. All right. Um, we asked about the similarity or the dissimilarity. So you said that the process in Hilotepec was different than in Merida. Okay. I feel like we may have answered all the questions I had. I'm going over here. Okay. So this is a question, and we talked about this a little bit before we went live, about like zoning and rules for what you can build, when you can build. So let's talk about that. Can you just do anything you want?
You can't do anything you want. It depends on where you purchase. If you purchase in a rural area with the coyotes, it's private, so you can do whatever you want. If you purchase in Puebla or Merida, Querétaro, these are famous places that I've looked at. And if you're interested in these areas, they will say if it's private where you can do whatever you want. But along the coastline and in Mexico City, it's a bit more restricted where you have to follow the rules. And if you think you get away with it, be careful of the neighbors. They will call, the government with a bulldozer to knock it down.
They will rat on you.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so like your rural property,
Mm-hmm.
it's in, because I've been there, and I kind of want to say it's a subdivision, but I think subdivision is too strong of a word.
Okay.
Because there are the other property owners, some of them have built houses.
Yes.
So to do what you are thinking about doing, do
Mm-hmm.
you need to have their permission? Are there rules that that state has said, okay, this you can like your dwelling has to be this size, it can only be so many levels? Are there, have you run across any kind of rules like that?
There are no rules there. There are no
Okay.
rules. However, they say if you're going to a certain amount of floor, they tell you what material you can use. So if you're going 2 floors and above, you cannot use wood. You have to use concrete.
Okay.
So that's the only thing. But other than that, you can build whatever you want. You can have whomever build the structure in that
Okay.
area. Uh-huh.
And as is as is the way in Mexico, in theory, you could be out there, you and your husband could be out there and y'all be building it and maybe be violating some rule, but it would be like, are there building inspectors coming, or would it really take a neighbor who knew what was permitted to then rat you out,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay.
For example, I selected that area because it had a lot of trees. And based on the structure, I want to get rid of the trees. If I cut the trees down, I'll be going to jail. I
Are
thought
the
he was joking, but then everybody said it, so you want to go to jail? And I was like, oh, okay, this is a serious thing.
are
Uh,
the trees endangered or something?
I don't know. I think 5 years ago there was a law created to protect the trees, but that's a different story. A different story. But yes,
Okay.
if I do cut the trees down, like the one in Merida though, it has medicinal trees, fruit trees, and stuff like that. For that, I do need a licensed constructor. There's a licensed professional that has to manage it.
Okay.
And if they do the permit for me to remove those trees, I have to replace them.
Okay. So, like, to build on the land near Merida, do you need a permit to build, or you could? Because it
100%.
in Las Vegas, it doesn't sound like there is a permitting
No.
process.
So
But
in Merida, I need the government to come in and investigate to see if there are any Mexican artifacts on it, if there's any cenotes on it, and I have to pay a fee for that. And for the I want to give you the correct information. Let me check to be
okay.
sure. So I know I have to pay for the government to check. Let me tell you. Let me tell you what it's called in Spanish. Hmm, let me check. Yes. So a licencia de construcción en el municipio. So this is someone from the government, and I don't know how much they're gonna charge. However, the liberation de INAH, INAH, these are like archaeologists
Okay.
and archaeologists basically.
So before you can ever start to build on that property near Merida, you have to pay to have these specific kinds of people come and do research, a survey to ensure that there are no relics, there are no cenotes, there
Mhm.
anything like that there. So that's going to come out of your pocket.
Yeah.
Then when you want to build a structure, does
Mhm.
somebody have to approve of the design?
Yes, yes. There is already a limitation as to how much floors can be built. Don't ask me how much is it in height. Yes.
Okay, okay. And I would assume, given that part of the country is prone to hurricanes, there are probably rules about new construction being like meeting those codes.
Mhm.
Um, do you, well, I was gonna say, do you know if like they monitor that process? Like,
Ye-
okay.
They do. They
Much
do.
more so than out in Las
Yes,
Vegas,
yes,
where
yes, yes.
you can kind of do what you want.
I was talking to the guy and I was like, is anybody going to come and check? And he looked at me, yes, because I have to submit like a plan. Well,
Hmm.
submit a plan and they check. And I was like, okay. And so I asked, trying to have, I'm bringing that white man's energy. I was like, can I pay you under the table? He was like, no, no, no.
No.
Yes.
Now, was all of this, all these rules, was that disclosed to you before you bought? Or
No,
did you have to think to ask those questions?
it was not. It's after I, bright eye and bushy tail got on a plane and say, okay, let's start building. Just doing my research, and these things were brought to the table. And I was like, oh, no one told me this. Was it in the contract?
So it wasn't in the contract?
It was in the contract, but I just didn't read it. Don't tell
Ah,
anybody that.
ah, I got you. I got you. I got you.
Yes.
Okay. Kat is wondering, do you have any tips for like how to find an architect or a reputable contractor? Because I know you've dealt with a little bit of that.
Yes. How to find an architect that you like and someone that believe in your vision and don't tell you this is impossible. Or you can use Instagram, you can use Daily, and look for architects in the area.
Okay.
These are some of the things, and also friends, who they recommend as well. So these are some of the ways in which I look for architects.
So really, it's you kind of are, even if you are buying the property from a distance, when it gets to that piece, it sounds like you really need to be on the ground talking to people in the area to get suggestions and recommendations, which isn't all that different than I built a house in the US, and that's kind of the same kind of thing that I had to do there. Do you know, like, if somebody has a history of being shady or ripping people off,
You will know. You
how
will.
will I know?
So my recent experience was I reached out to 3 in the coast,
Hmm.
and one of them was in alignment with the other in terms of the cost with the government. The other one was like double the price. And I was like, this, why? What's so special? So I went on Facebook just to see. And then for this firm, the ratings were like terrible. And I was like, oh my goodness, what if I was someone not into doing research before I go forward? So
Okay.
you can do your research, reach out to them, and they will always give you a quote. They will never charge for the quote. If they give you if you tell them what you want, how you want it, and you give them like a Pinterest idea, they will send you back a quote within a week or so. And then you will double check and review which one is ideal. And if something doesn't feel right in terms of cost, yes, everybody has their costs, but if it's way off from what the other 2 people have, that's when I went to Dr.
Okay.
Google.
Okay. So as with anything, like you wouldn't want to just pick somebody and not have compared them to other people, asking other people to do the same thing, other people in the same industry. That
Mhm,
would help. Okay. All right. All right.
mhm, mhm.
Okay. Rakia, going back to taxes, uh, would an expansion or development in the land, in the property, would that increase your taxes?
Not necessarily. However, if you have a new structure around you, like a supermarket, a school, a movie theater, a school or something, that will increase the value, and it would
Okay.
really affect the taxes per se.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, Celeste asks, is it known if you can hire contractors from a different country?
Yes, you can. However, those contractors will have to follow the system here in Mexico.
Yeah, and
They
I would think that would be more hassle than it's worth,
It is
is
more
what I would think.
So I would recommend that you find someone in the area or someone in Mexico that is willing to travel, and that will cost more. If that's not an issue, I'm just letting you know.
Okay. So you speak some Spanish, but you don't look overly Mexican.
Okay, so for me as a foreigner, I don't get no for construction. If you're emailing and they see your name and not see your face, if everything is by message, yes, there is a different price.
Okay.
Yes, there is
Okay.
a different price.
Do you feel like when you were like finding out about the availability of property for sale, because
Mhm.
like we talk about this all the time, like when you are looking to rent an apartment here,
Mhm.
if they think you're a foreigner, you may get one price versus if they think you're Mexican. Did you
Mhm.
find any of that when you were initially shopping for a property?
No, because it was a lot and it was made public, so they couldn't
Okay.
keep the price. However, if I wanted more than what was sold, there is a price difference. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think we hit most of these questions. Um, is there, I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask anyway. Is there a place on, are any of these records online publicly available that like as I'm narrowing down to this particular area that I want to buy property in?
Mm-hmm.
Like in Texas, I can go to the county's website and I can see like what the property values are and that sort of thing. Can you do that here?
Yes, yes. It's called CAS. Can I ask? It's
Yeah,
called CAS. Can I ask?
yeah. Go ahead.
What
Go
do
ahead.
you? It's there's a number that if you have this number, you can go and check. And
Okay,
you,
so where would you get that number?
oh dear, I have to get up and look at it. It's on the top right hand corner of the paper.
Okay, so that's about a paper property that maybe you've put in a contract on. But let's say I'm just researching. Like I have heard all the wonderful things you have said about Las Vegas and the
Mhm.
trees and the coyotes, and I'm like, yes, I want to buy a property, but before I go to talk to these people, I want to get a sense of how much the other properties are worth. Can I
Mhm.
find that out, me
Ah,
myself?
how much they're worth? No, no,
Okay.
no,
So
no.
how do you know that you're paying the or that you're not overpaying? I'm sorry, I'm asking you all these hard questions.
Well, what I did for Las Vegas to ensure that I wasn't paying more was, ask the guy, sweet talk the guy in the office and say, hey, what's going on? And he would tell me what the value of the land is versus what I was paying.
Oh,
So if you ask, and that's a very good question because it's a question that I've always asked and I didn't get, but then I was like, is this really the value of the land and why is it this much? Mm-hmm.
okay. So if I can't sweet talk the guy at the office, my best bet is really just comparison shopping other places and kind of seeing what prices are doing and kind of go from there.
Definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay. All right.
For some people here, if, for example, being a fidador, if they want you being a fidador and you own property and I want to see the value of it, or if you pay your taxes, there's a number and that's what I will check to see that you pay taxes, but you won't see the value. Some people ask for that.
Okay. To know that the taxes are up to date because of how things are done here, you wouldn't want to knowingly enter a sales agreement on a property I don't think, without knowing that at least the taxes are up to date,
Mhm.
because getting that sorted out, unless it seems like it would be a hassle, like if you're trying to get the owner or whoever the heirs are to pay the taxes. Otherwise, you would have to pay them.
Yes.
And that's an added expense. Like, why would you take that on? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. If y'all got any more questions, go ahead and drop those in the chat. I think I have hit all the other ones that okay. And we've talked about, like, if you so choose, you can transfer your ownership of those properties to whomever you wish.
Yes.
Like, you actually own the land, that sort of thing. We've talked about how to, the people involved in the transaction with you, ways that you can make sure they're legitimate, getting recommendations from somebody who's done it, somebody in the area. That's always a good idea. So yeah.
Yeah.
When's the glamping trip? See how excited she got? Like, yeah. If you want to come glamp, she will be more than happy to get it. I don't know that we're going to use the word glamp. I think this would be really more like camping. We're talking about like sleeping bags under the stars, just you and the coyotes.
There are no coyotes. Just rabbits and birds and
I did not see any coyotes.
and frogs.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I think we hit most of those questions. If my computer wasn't being stupid, I would try to, like how Teresa mentioned, you can look on Google, that sort of thing. But I dropped a link for Tecnocasa in the chat. You can go there, and that might be a good place to kind of start and look. Other places, not Metros Cubios, Segunda Mano, Viva Nuncios, those websites where people sell, they sell like real estate, apartments, houses, that sort of thing, but they also sell properties. There was another question that just popped in my head, and then it left just as quickly. And now I don't remember it. So I don't know. Are you going to buy any more property, do you think?
No, I think I want to buy an apartment, but they're too tiny.
How tiny is too tiny?
Oh my goodness, 53 meters square.
Okay, that is tiny.
It's
That is
tiny.
tiny. And I bet you that's a 2-bedroom for 53 meters. Yeah.
And I was looking in Polanco. There's a beautiful development in Polanco. I love the finishing, and it's not yet finished, but the price is affecting my heart rate. But it's really, really high-end finish. And I'm trying to get the husband on board, and he's not interested.
And would that be to rent?
For sure, that would be
To generate some income. Okay. All right.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful.
I'm not even going to ask, because I know what the prices look like in this city.
I am so ambitiously beyond my pocket. I'm like, what am I doing? But yeah. If I can get some ladies who are willing to invest and we share, for sure. I don't know, but I'm always trying to get someone on board, but everybody has different tastes.
Okay.
But I think I have all the basics type that I want so far: small apartment, farm, beach. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you do. All you need now is a luxury apartment in Polanco and a house, and
Yeah.
you'll kind of round out your portfolio.
Yes, 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 yes. So,
Okay.
any ladies who are watching this, if you consider Mexico, I would say look at what you like and what you can tolerate. Also, taking consideration that if you're used to things going fast, just follow the process and ask as much question. If you're working with someone, let them work for you and ask any question. There's no question too stupid or funny or inappropriate as it relates to something that you are paying your money for. And yeah, that's just a little
Okay.
bit of basics.
Halisi from Our Black Utopia wants to know. First of all, let me ask you this. Are the prices in dollars or pesos?
I don't use those kind of money.
I know you don't, but Polanco is the one area in this city where real estate prices are more often in dollars than pesos. I
Definitely.
know that near here there is a new apartment development. Like when I went to get my hair cut, they were about 5 million pesos,
Mhm.
which is that, I don't know how much 5 million pesos, but I would guess something
Mm.
in Polanco, we talking 10, 15 million pesos at least.
Just say a lot of money.
More than that?
A lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the guy was really nice in showing me around. I was like, you don't need my email address, not today. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, it's something in Polanco, especially if it is a building that is going to come with like amenities,
Mm.
you are going to be you're going to be close to I want to say a million USD
Yes,
probably.
yes, yes. From 749,000 US dollars going up.
Yeah, that
And
sounds about right.
and the condominium is what is in the 700 range going up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That sounds about right. And if y'all watched any of the videos on this channel where we've talked about like apartments and that sort of thing here in Mexico City, I have always reminded y'all that you can get something at every price point, but
Yes,
just understand like the high end here, it is it is high.
yes, yes, yes,
So yeah, that does not shock me. That does
yes,
not shock me at all.
yes.
Um, so yeah, okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your experience.
Well,
Um,
thank you for having me. I hope I was informative to the ladies out there.
Okay. All right. And if y'all want to hear more from Teresa, I am going to link the other videos that she's in on this channel. Yes, I am going to put in the description the link to Techno Casa, and I'm trying to think what else,
There
but
is
I'll put that.
one that is new. It's called La House. You can also contact the guys there, and they can work for you as well. And I'm sure
What's
it's
it called?
La House, L H A
LAHOU. Oh,
S
HA.
US. You remember I sent you where they had this tiny triangle for like 4 million or something like that?
LAHAU.
Yes.
Ah, okay. I
Mm.
see La House. Okay, so that's what I'll put. I'll put the links to some of the different websites for those of you that are wanting to kind of just poke around and see what
Mhm.
prices are looking like, so you can kind of get yourself a point of reference.
Mhm.
Um, and we're gonna let Arlana have the last question here because I'm curious about this. Um,
Oh.
the sinking in the city, does that affect your purchase decisions?
I am not, well, I'm on the, well, I'm not sure I understand the question. What do you mean?
Like, okay, one of the reasons that I am hesitant to buy property here is Mexico City is sinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's got water issues. Um, that's actually lower on my list. There are other issues higher up on my list than that, but it is something that has crossed my mind. Is that something that you are overly concerned about, or
I was concerned about it, but I don't pay any attention to it because I'm not looking in the city anymore. However, no, it does not affect the price of rice. And if there is a new building to be built, for example, next to my apartment, they were planning on demolishing a house to build an apartment there. They had to get a test done to see how deep they could go. They cannot do it because the soil is not stable and they didn't put anything in their plans that will accommodate for that.
yeah. Mexico
Mhm.
City itself is definitely a tricky place if you are talking about building on empty land, because one, there's not much of it. And
Nope.
then two, the amount of engineering that would need to be done.
Mhm.
Um, it, it definitely has some challenges here if you're trying to start with an empty lot.
Yes, in the
Okay,
city.
here in the city.
In the city. Oh, so in the city, I'm saying this live. In the city, to build in the city, there's a lot of politics that goes into it and a lot of engineering that goes into it. And if you do not follow those engineering, you will see a sign that say Closaro.
I
Because
walked I walked past a apartment complex today, and it's got these big Closaro. They're all these like adhesive signs, and it's on the garage entry point. But the people are still living in this building. And
oh,
then there's a big sign that I had to translate that said something like, before you buy, make sure you ask question, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, oh shit, what
yes.
is going on there? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Mexico City definitely has its issues
Yes.
that make it a kind of a complicated place
Mm-hmm.
to build things.
Yes.
Um, that are special little unique quirks just to the city. The city I love, but it does have its little quirks. Yes, it does.
Definitely, definitely does.
All right, y'all. We are gonna get out of here. Thank you so much, Teresa. Y'all give me 5-10 minutes and I will drop those links in the description. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't turned on notifications, do that as well. And we will see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.